Hello, I want to talk about the Greens policy announcement to spend $4 billion manufacturing missiles and drones, but before I do that, I want to talk a bit more about the Greens generally. So the Greens strategy is not to build a mass party that is powerful enough to challenge capitalism outside the halls of power, but their strategy is to gain enough votes so that they can gain enough seats in Parliament to hold the balance of power in Parliament. The Greens have no issue with the system of capitalism, but rather just some of its most egregious examples like homelessness and stuff like that. And with their balance of power, they plan to improve capitalism a little bit. So improve things like climate change and improve things like homelessness, not to defeat capitalism itself. And the issue with that is if your only strategy is to gain enough votes to hold the balance of power in Parliament, it means your only strategy is electoralism. And electoralism is inherently conservatising because you are trying to gain votes from everyone, including the capitalists. And we can start to see the issue with this. The Greens base of, professional, inner city, high income earning, university educated voters now have an alternative that they can go to. They can go to the Teals. So instead of pushing further to the left, we can see the Greens start conservatising themselves as we speak. For example, in my electorate of Macnamara, I was delivered a 17-page kind of booklet manifesto thing on the Greens plan, and the Greens plan had no mention of the genocide of Palestinian people, but it did mention, for example, rising anti-Semitism. That's an intentional conservatising choice that the Greens have made in my electorate, and there are many examples all over the country, but I want to talk about kind of the most egregious one at the moment. Yesterday, the Greens announced that during a cost of living crisis, they want to spend, and they have a fully costed policy to spend $4 billion manufacturing missiles and drones. They also further announced that, this is just the start. I want to talk about that for a bit. A few months ago, I sat on an anti-weapons panel event thing next to David Shoebridge, and he warned everyone in the room of Australia's shift, our economy's shift from, making things that are productive to manufacturing weapons. And he warned us that this was, a dangerous thing for us to be doing. And now he's the one announcing the Greens policy to do just that. I want to say that it kind of makes sense that it's Shoebridge announcing this policy because it gives the Greens some left cover to announce their, imperialism. But it's also, his brother is a director at ASPI. So, there you go. Anyways, let's talk about the issues with this policy. We know what these weapons will be used for. We know that we're at the beck and call of the US and the UK, and we're their little imperial vassal state that will be used to go and attack other people. And we know that these weapons will be used to kill people, working class people in other countries and their children. We just simply don't need to be doing that. The Greens are framing this as something that we need to do in order to end AUKUS, and that's just plain wrong. We know that AUKUS will give us 0 submarines, and all it will do is allow the US to station nuclear-capable planes and ships and other stuff in this country, making this country a target. We can just end that. We don't need to spend $368 billion to receive no submarines and allow, nuclear-capable things to be parked here. We can instead be spending that money on public housing, increasing welfare, and increasing healthcare in this country. The Greens policy instead is to improve our weapons manufacturing capability. This is incredibly disappointing from the Greens, who we can now see as positioning themselves as like a centrist party compared to the right and the further right and then the far right parties. We know that coming up to this election, we will see more conservative policies coming from the Greens as they try to gain more votes from us. The reason that the Greens are focusing so much on housing and renters and stuff like that at the moment is not because it's an ideologically correct thing to do for their party, because their party doesn't have an ideology on this particular thing. The reason they're doing it is because there are votes to be gained. And as those votes and as the amount of renters increase in this country, there are more votes to be gained. But if those votes disappear, if less people rent, those policies will quickly slip from the Greens party platform. So I just want to warn you and remind you that when you see a Greens policy announcement like this, to think about why that might be. Why are they doing this? And the answer is to try get your vote. Not because it's the right thing to do. We already spend so many billions of dollars every year on defence in this country. We don't need another 4 to manufacture weapons to kill working class people and their children in other countries.